Season number 9 of Fortnite Battle Royale is upon us, and with it comes a brand new weapon, the combat shotgun. On top of this new weapon, the pump shotgun was also thrown into the vault, leaving just 2 shotguns left to choose from. So today we're going to compare the combat shotgun versus the tactical shotgun and try to determine which is the best shotgun in Fortnite. Before we get into everything, I do want to quickly mention that on Sunday, the combat shotgun was tweaked to remove a lot of bugs. There was a lot of registration issues with this weapon, so if you're someone who used the combat shotgun in its prior state, I would highly suggest using it again, especially if you wrote it off, because it definitely feels much better in its current state. Onto the video. To start out, let's look at the in-game stats for the highest rarity of these two shotguns. Even with the increase to damage that was given to the tactical shotgun with the start of Season 9, it still does less damage than the combat shotgun, although not by much. The combat shotgun also features the faster fire rate, the larger magazine, and the faster reload for a higher magazine. Here's something interesting to consider when looking at the reload speeds for these two weapons, specifically with the combat shotgun. If you watch the reload animation of the combat shotgun closely, you can see that your character will reload 2 shells and then another 2 shells, although it only shows 1, before reaching back into the pouch and repeating the process. This is something you can take advantage of in the heat of battle when you need to quickly reload your weapon. It takes 9/10 of a second to reload 2 shells, but only an additional 5/10 of a second to reload another 2. So if your magazine is at 0 and you're in desperate need of some additional ammo, it might be worth it to push it those extra 5/10 of a second. When we compare this to the tactical shotgun, it takes the same amount of time for both of these weapons to reload 2 shells, but it is a lot quicker for the combat shotgun to reload 4 because of this animation. Moving on, let's take a look at other pieces of information not clearly stated by the in-game stats. To start off, both of these weapons have the exact same draw speed at half of a second, which in my opinion is slower than it should be, as other shotguns such as the pump and heavy shotgun did used to have faster draw speeds, but that is where both of these weapons currently sit. Next up, let's take a look at the accuracy of these two weapons. For every other shotgun we've seen in Fortnite, they always have the same accuracy for every single shot because their fire rates are slow enough to allow the spread to come back down. For the combat shotgun, however, the second bullet is a little less accurate than the first one. So on screen now is a comparison between these two weapons when aiming down sights and strafing. And here's the accuracy of the combat shotgun's second bullet, which is where the accuracy will remain if you continue to fire it as fast as you can. As you can clearly see, the combat shotgun is unbelievably more accurate than the tactical shotgun. In fact, it's literally 2 times as accurate. If I take the accuracy images of these two weapons and stack them on top of each other, but I make the combat shotgun 2 times as large, then when I lower the opacity, you can see that they are both the same accuracy. The same story goes for these two weapons when we look at them while strafing and firing from the hip. The combat shotgun is hands down the most accurate shotgun we've ever seen in Fortnite. Even compared to the heavy shotgun, as you can see here with all 4 shotguns and their accuracy, the combat shotgun is leagues ahead of every other weapon. A genuine question you have to ask yourself though is this a good thing for a shotgun to be that accurate? And we'll discuss it more later in the video. This brings us to the final piece of comparison information to go over, which is the damage drop off for these weapons. As you can see here, the tactical shotgun starts damage drop off 1 plank or 5 meters sooner than the combat shotgun, and it drops off much more severely. It also stops being able to do damage completely way sooner than the combat shotgun. The combat shotgun can actually continue doing damage up to 19 planks or 95 meters, although I wouldn't suggest using it at those ranges because you'd only be doing single digit damage. I think at any distance further than 8 planks isn't really worth using this weapon for, but there is definitely an argument to be made for this weapon at those longer but still pretty reasonable ranges. The combat shotgun is truly paving new ground when it comes to shotguns and their range capabilities. Even the heavy shotgun, as shown here with its damage drop off, didn't have as favorable of range as the combat shotgun. Now of course, not everything can be perfect with the combat shotgun. Right here is the damage drop off for the combat and tactical shotguns when it comes to headshot damage. Notice the change in increments on the left, which is the reason for the lines being lower on the graph than they were for the body shot damage. As you can see, the combat shotgun is now doing less than the tactical shotgun at the start because the combat shotgun has a headshot multiplier of only 1.7, whereas the tactical shotgun has a multiplier of 2. An important thing I want to mention before we go any further is that the way in which I measured the damage for these weapons is I simply went into playgrounds and shot an opponent at different ranges. So when you're comparing the body shot damage of the combat shotgun to the headshot damage, it's not always going to be 1.7 times, because a lot of times it's going to be very difficult to hit a lot of pellets to the head at those longer ranges. Alright, now that we've gone over all of the factual information, let's discuss the advantages and disadvantages of both of these weapons. Number 1 is that the tactical shotgun is able to do more headshot damage than the combat shotgun. Granted, of course, the combat shotgun is able to do more damage at more range, but shotguns are mostly designed to be used up close. Another thing to consider, however, is that neither of these shotguns can kill in one hit. So the combat shotgun having a slightly faster fire rate is a definite advantage that would help you potentially kill a 200 health opponent faster. The second thing to consider is that while the tactical shotgun does have a wider spread than the combat shotgun, that can sometimes turn out to be a good thing, especially when you are fighting someone who is up close, like in a 1x1. If you aren't completely center mass with the tactical shotgun, it isn't a huge deal because you will still do a reasonable amount of damage. With the combat shotgun, however, having your aim be off even in the slightest can result in you doing no damage whatsoever. That right there is the biggest thing you need to consider when you're trying to decide which shotgun is best for you. If your aim isn't great, then you basically shouldn't even consider using the combat shotgun. The tactical shotgun is going to be the gun you want to use hands down. But what if you do have very good aim? Is it still worth it to use the combat shotgun over the tactical shotgun? Well, it can be, but what you have to realize is how different of a playstyle the combat shotgun requires. It requires using the shotgun at much more of a distance, which is something people just aren't used to doing with shotguns. If you're someone who constantly has the advantage on your opponent, then the combat shotgun is going to be great for you. Taking those quick shots and chunking a person for 60 plus damage at long ranges can be absolutely deadly. But if you aren't finding yourself in those already advantageous situations, then you won't find a ton of use for the combat shotgun. Right now I think we're in a learning phase with this weapon. People are kind of undervaluing it because of how good the pump shotgun was up close, but when the really good players start to figure out how this gun fits into the game, they're going to make some incredible plays with it. A change I would really like to see made for the shotguns currently in the game is to make it so that they don't have a delay when you shoot your shotgun and then switch to your builds. Currently, if you shoot your shotgun and then pull out your build, you're going to have a 1.25 second delay before you can actually fire your shotgun again. This mechanic was originally introduced into the game to prevent people from using two shotguns and taking advantage of a faster fire rate, but I think Epic also decided to add it to builds because it was a good way of slowing down the really good players. So more than likely Epic is going to keep this in the game because it is something that reduces the overall skill gap, which is something that again I've talked about before. It's something that's just good for business. It's good for a game that is trying to make as much money as possible. But from a player perspective, I think it's something that's really limiting the combat shotgun specifically, because the combat shotgun again is something you want to use at those further ranges, and it takes a lot of good movement in order to make that happen. So you're constantly building, you're constantly moving around the map to try and get those perfect long range shots. But anyway, that is all that I have for this video. I hope you found it informative. Let me know in the comments which shotgun you prefer and why you prefer it. Are you someone who uses the tactical shotgun even though you have very good aim? Or are you someone who maybe uses the combat shotgun but you don't consider yourself to have the best of aim? If you're new here and like this analytical style content, feel free to subscribe, as this is what I do constantly on this channel. If you'd like to support me when spending V-Bucks or when purchasing games in the Epic Games Store, you can do so by using my code Flamm. Thank you so much to all of you who used my code for the Season 9 Battle Pass. I believe I had over 400 people supporting me. It truly means a lot to me. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you all in my next video.